When do you switch then from out of your hand to off the ground?
It's just it's a feel thing for me. So like if I was playing with the wind, I'd usually always kick them out of my hands, just because it's more, once I get my shoulder position right, the direction in which my feet needs to go and the commitment to the strike, the wind pretty much does the majority of the work for me. Whereas if I'm kicking into the wind, obviously there's far more that can go wrong, so I find it more comfortable just putting the ball on the deck and kicking off the ground. And sometimes it's hard to get the elevation, I find, when you're kicking off the ground with the wind behind you.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes it's a little bit easier to kick under and through the wind, up through it. That's kind of what I find. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So like pretty much once a free is awarded, like I might not be the person who's actually been fouled, so I'd always take my time in terms of getting across to the free kick. So what that allows me to do is just take a couple of breaths, get my heart rate down. Because once my heart rate's down, I'm able to think a bit more clearly about my process. So then once I get over to the ball, I'm kind of after making my mind up whether I'm going to kick the ball out of the hands or off the ground. So in this instance, I'm about 30 yards out from goal. The wind's kind of favouring me somewhat, so I would have made up my mind at this stage on kicking the ball out of my hands. Okay, so then the next things I'm going to focus on, obviously, we're on an all-weather pitch here, so it's hard to get a bit of grasp to the wind, but it's just to find the general direction, which way the wind is blowing. So I know now it's coming strong from right to left, so that's obviously going to dictate my starting position where I'm going to have my shoulder. And a big cue for me is just always trying to have my left shoulder facing towards the target. So in this instance, I'm going to have my left shoulder facing towards the right post, okay? And I'm going to try my best to hide this right shoulder for as long as possible in the run-up so that I don't open up. Because if I open up my chest in any way, the likelihood is that I'm going to curl it to the left and miss. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's my number one focus, is obviously shoulder to the target and then trying to move in a direction that doesn't allow my right shoulder to rotate inwards and drag it to the left and wide. Yeah. And after that, then it's just trying to keep the head down, full commitment to the strike, and don't quit on the kick.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah.
That's something really common in American football.
Yeah.
Is we talk about like commitment to the kick, because you find a lot of times if you try and baby it or be too like delicate with it, you kind of. For me, it was a tend to miss left if I tried to guide it home. So that's So you're the same thing, the commitment to the kick, not kind of. Yeah,
and it's kind of a cue or a trigger I'd always use before I come up to the kick is just use the word commit. That's just as I'm approaching the kick, it's just commit. So I'm not thinking of any outcome, or it's just the process and then the actual commitment.
I use the exact same trigger word.
Okay,
commit.
right.
Literally as I go to the
there
kick.
we go. Right.
That's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
So
and we haven't even talked about this.
Yeah.
There we go.
Do you want to give it a shot?
I'll give it a go.
I'll see if I can follow you up out of the ball.
Okay, right. Don't be giving out about the footballs now.
And let the wind bring it in nicely.
A Hawkeye on that one.
Hawkeye is wide.
Do you want to give it a pop? Nice. So just looking at both of you there, like it looked like, you were way more, as you said, so you're lining your left shoulder to the right post because that's your target line.
Sure.
But then once you're moving, you're like, I feel like you were more kind of sidewards.
Yeah.
You looked a little bit more kind of upfield. That's just like a personal preference thing.
Yeah.
I'm just watching you both kick
Sure,
there.
yeah.
That's just a personal preference. Are you consciously not going upfield as much?
Yeah, and I'd probably know that, like, because I missed at the near post that side, and for me, like, that's probably a good miss. I'd rather miss on that side than the left side.
Yeah.
So now, I now know the reason why I missed. So the next time I'd probably just change the angle at which I'm running into.
Yeah.
And then it should be able to go in over barges inside.
So that's what you do in the warm-up. You don't taking your first kicks in the game live.
Yeah.
All right, let me give this a crack. So very much out of the hands.
Bit unnatural for you. It's fine.
See, I kick it very straight, but look, she goes over.
It's
Grand.
a bit different.
Yeah. So what are you noticing is what's so different about what you saying what I kind of did looks different to you?
Well, it looked different.
Different,
Maybe just a bit more upright in
Upright.
terms of, that's probably just the way you kick.
Yeah,
Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, so, whereas we probably try and get our head and chest over the ball a bit more.
Probably the finishing point as well. You're still very much like turned this way.
Yeah.
I did, like, do you
scored,
finish
like.
with your,
So it's all right.
But what is it? You finishing
You
more
kinda,
like through
like,
the ball?
Yeah, I'd have the kind of like rotation of your chest would like dictate where the ball goes.
Finish the target.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, let's hit 2 or 3 more just so we can get, and then
Yeah.
we maybe hit some off the deck.
Go on, after you, Kate. Considering you scored the first one. Missed.
Lovely. Love that. Yeah.
It's not going too well for me, is it?
Here we got 2 more
It's a
balls.
size 4.
It's a size 4
Size
football.
4 shirts.
Yeah, that's all it is. Like. We'll get one on camera.
get- yeah,
You
exactly.
have been at a kicking camp all day.
I know you've been on your feet for a long day.
Is he the coach? See, when I practice, I only try and I wouldn't count that as a score. Like,
What do you mean?
you have to get it in between the right post and the black spot.
As long as it goes
So then when it
over.
comes to a match, you got a bigger target.
I'm only warming up.
So bad. Anyway,
You like to play right side, and you're saying you use the middle of the goals and the right post as your target line.
yeah, that in practice, that's my goal. I narrow the target, because then in the match, then you can make a slight alteration if there's a little bit of pressure,
Yeah.
and you can kind of play with a bigger target than a narrow one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
So.
sense.
We'll see.
It's a windy old day.
It is.
There she is, right?
Perfect.
All right, so that's it. All right, sound. So we've just jumped through the kicking out of the hand. I think a lot of good coaching points for people, especially I think would you just agree that the most important thing is in your setup pre-kick allows you to get the outcome in kick? Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So from kicking off the ground,
Yeah.
first thing I'm noticing, I assume that's a very deliberate thing. You're getting the
Oh
valve.
yeah, the valve to it.
So that's
No,
just your
just real, just habit.
yeah.
I don't think it's any real
Kind of-
science behind it.
Yeah.
I don't really know. It's more just habit in terms of just that helps me point the ball towards my target in the distance.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I use it for.
Yeah.
Some people might put the ball down anyway, but for me, I try and use the valve to guide me in terms of
Yeah.
my target. So you're kind of always looking up in that general direction. And obviously, when you're on a grass pitch, you're just trying to put your toe under a little bit, so there's a bit of elevation, so you can get under the ball a little bit more. And then for me, it's always just walking back directly from my target. Okay, and then it's pretty much whatever I'm comfortable with steps wise to the left. Now that will change depending on where I am on the pitch. So if I was shooting from right to left, I probably wouldn't step back to do as many steps to the left as I do when I'm over this side of the pitch, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So, should be pretty much right to left.
Yeah.
Weak.
Would you have a similar approach then? Do you mind do you have a bit of a process for off the ground, say?
Jeez, I've actually never taken
Oh, what
one
are you
off
thinking?
the ground.
Oh, I mean, if you don't, yeah. If you don't, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's somewhere where the women's game probably needs to. There's very few kick the ball
Because
off
they've
the ground.
actually put a rule in that if you put a 45 over off the ground, it's 2 points.
Oh, really?
2 points
Like
for
to kind of
them.
entice
Oh.
that.
And
So
so
you have very little people that can probably do it.
It's a long way out.
I don't think I haven't seen maybe one example.
One or two, yeah.
in championship maybe over the last
Yeah.
few years. So
Yeah.
they're trying to encourage it, like, but it's a tough skill for men. Like it's,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so-
do you find it's more like I find from watching a lot of the different inter-county kickers, a lot of lads do tend to go after or like inside that scoring range. I know there's difference. Everyone's different. You're out of the ball,
of course.
but, I don't know. There's less. I was going to say there's less moving parts off the ground, you know, with regards to your ball and your ball drop.
Yeah.
But I guess this is a round ball, and you've obviously thousands of hours, so
Yeah.
that's probably not even a conscious thought. Is it really around like the dropping of the ball, or is it something you're quite?
Well, in windy conditions, it is important because naturally, you probably you have to get the ball as close to the ground or drop it as close to the ground as possible onto the sweet spot of the foot, particularly when it's windy, because the ball will. You know, the size 5 ball is quite heavy, but it still will move in the wind. Like today, the ball's going to move. So that would dictate whether you're going to kick the ball out of your hands or off the ground. As you said, there's a bit more control when you're off the ground because you know the ball is not going to move, it's going to sit there. So you just got to get your alignment right. Whereas there's a lot more variables in terms of when you're kicking out of hands.
That makes a lot of sense. So, the question for you around I guess just kind of after impact, are you consciously off the ground? Say you're consciously kind of trying to get your weight. Could you be at the point what kind of square to the target?
Yeah.
Is it with the same kind of off the ground for you kicking? So like Joe, the Dave Aldridge, the rugby kicking stuff. You know, it's through the ball, down the line. Is that something that you're aware of?
Yeah, like again, for me off the ground, it's always trying to get my head and chest over the ball and getting a full commitment, because some of the kicks that I would miss will be ones where I kind of quit on it a little bit and maybe come up a little bit too soon and drag them to the left. So for me, it's just trying to really get a proper strike. Like my planting leg is important in terms of trying to get that as close to the side of the ball as possible. And then after that, then it's really trying to keep my head, chest, everything over the ball as much as possible and try not to come up. So you're nearly, when I was starting off as a kid, I was nearly counting to 1 or 2 seconds to kind of stay down and teach myself to stay down. And that kind of helped me, because the ones I do miss are the ones that probably come up a little bit too soon, wondering where the ball is going. Whereas if you kind of stick to the process and stick to what you know, the outcome will look after itself.
So just one question on that, and then we'll find you, and then it's American football. You're trying to get your plant foot, just like obviously want to be consistent, but you're quite, so you're like in this kind of region? Like quite close?
I would say I'm probably that kind of where I'm trying to hit it from. When I was kicked in the past, and I'd often get the cameraman to come out with me and kind of take videos and stuff, and you'd see a bit of inconsistencies in terms of sometimes it might be here, sometimes it might be there. So you're trying to get what's most comfortable for me, and I've always found myself, whenever I've got my foot planted in this general direction or this general position, I've always found that I've got the best purchase or best strike on the kick. Now I'm wondering what it is for you, or where would you be planted?
Yeah, a touch wider, but we'd be very much, if we took a freeze frame pre-impact, you know, like our plant foot is very much in line with my target line pre-kick. So just looking at you there, it looks like it's the kind of same.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why American football and Gaelic football.
It's a lot of transferable
so
stuff.
Much kicking the ball thing in the world.
Right. What do you think, Kate? I'm about 5 to 1 to put this over the
You're at a big disadvantage for using a size 4.
A size 4 shirts, Anyway, we'll see.
Job done.
Nice.
Over the black spot.
Perfect.
Happy with that?
Happy with that one,
Damage. In American football, what I found the hardest kind of go back to kicking. I used to love Gaelic football, was my favourite sport until I switched. But distance to the ball, I noticed you're quite far, and I was doing some stuff
back,
with a few different Sean O'Shane, Shane Walsh, and lads like that, and it was really everyone's quite. The distances vary, but compared to what I would deem normal, is quite far. So you have different tempos into the ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah, true.
Kind of speed. With American football, you only have 1.3 seconds to kick the ball, so you have to be really close. Anyway, that's moving. We're giving it a crack.
Yeah, all right.
Moving target.
The lightness of the ball.
Oh, that's ugly. That is ugly.
You're very like over the ball. I suppose when you play American football, that's probably how you strike the ball more than how we would.
Yeah. It's a different type of kick. To be honest, I keep popping this off my toe.
Right, there you go.
It feels. I'm not liking it at all, or like the elevation I'm not getting out of it.
No, you can't get the ball off the ground here.
It just feels hard to find a sweet spot.
That's all right.
I still felt 90.
Yeah, it's not a good feel to it.
No.
Do you know what I mean? No, definitely.
I need to kick off the ground. We can do that.
Yeah.